All right, good afternoon, viewers. My name is Will Hudson. I'm the Executive Director of the Adams Rescue Mission, and I am so honored to be the guest host of Open House here with Community Media of South Central PA. I have some very special guests with me. We're going to meet here in a minute. I just want to throw something out there. Recently, we had the opportunity at the mission to host a housing summit through the Ministerium, which was absolutely amazing. Now, we're going to meet Pastor Jeremiah, who is the chair of the Ministerium. He's also the senior pastor at
the Intersection Church, in Gettysburg.
All right, perfect. And we're also going to meet Mr. Joe Keitt. Joe is a resident guest of the Adams Rescue Mission. He has also worked over the last year and 9 months through our program, and he is now our
Peer Services Manager.
And is doing an amazing job. So we're going to take a minute to meet these men, and we're going to talk about what we're going after here. One of the big issues are we have this homeless population. We have, and that's what started it. But it grew into something much more. We saw this need for improved human services across the board. So a few years ago, we had At Home Gettysburg, and that's down at SCAP, and it was set up by the Community Foundation, actually. And their job was really to kind of focus on what were the needs and problems within the community, which was great because they brought a lot of these organizations that were working in silos together. And it was pretty amazing how they came together and started working towards solutions on some of these problems. And you had SCAP there, you had the county commissioners there, you had a lot of entities coming. But as I joined some of those meetings, who wasn't there didn't seem to be our local churches. And you know, we know oftentimes they're the forefront of some of the issues that you face. So Pastor Jeremiah and the Ministerium, so, you know, they came out and they talked to us a little bit as we were pulling on strings and said, hey, I'd like to do some type of summit and get these folks together. So Pastor Jeremiah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm the pastor of the Intersection Church in Gettysburg, PA, and we are right across from the outlets, right on Route 15. And of course, we have a thriving church body there, but I'm also the pastor the lead pastor of the Ministerium, which is a local group of clergy members that are all out of Gettysburg and the Gettysburg area who are focused on having shared worship experiences, which we do at Christmas. So we do that at Thanksgiving and Easter. We have a Good Friday service coming up here shortly. But we also work together on community issues and places where we can help the community. And so that's kind of where this came out of. We were having discussions more frequently within the Ministerium, the monthly meetings about the needs that were coming to the churches, because like you said, the churches tend to be the front lines for a lot of needs. When people need help, they'll often reach out to churches as well as agencies and organizations. So we were seeing an uptick in all of that, and noticed that there were other people that were working on the same issue, but we weren't talking together,
right,
which was the real need. There was a need for us to be a part of that convo. And so that's the whole heart for the summit that just took place in February. And we're pleased with the way it turned out. The attendance was much more than we could have ever imagined. You were there, you were presented as a part of that.
We thought we'd end up with about 20 people. If you go to an at-home meeting, you typically have about that.
And I thought they were going to be mostly pastors from our ministerium, looking at each other, but it turned out that we had well over 40.
Yeah. We pushed 50 people through there.
50 people there from various agencies and different organizations, even government agencies even. It was really an amazing time. And we sat in the same room together, I think for the first time in as long as I've been in the community that I know of, where churches and agencies came together.
It's the first time I've heard of something like that. Maybe it's happened before, but certainly in this day and age, it incredible. And the sharing of ideas and thoughts.
Yeah.
And it was much more than that, but we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I would like to do is to let Joe Keitt introduce who he is, how he came to Adams County. Joe is one of the folks that we're out there fighting for. When we look at this demographic of folks in need, Joe was a person who showed up at a church. Joe, tell us a little bit about who you are and a little bit about your story.
My name is Joe Keitt. I currently serve at Adams Rescue Mission as our peer services manager. So I kind of do a little bit of everything. I oversee our vocational training portion of the program. I act as a liaison between executive staff and residents. Act as a sounding board for residents, everything from counseling residents to providing advice to just being that ear.
Joe's kind of the glue that holds everything together. We can't be there 24/7. Joe came up in the program, so he's finished it, he's completed it. He's sitting here, and the next step for him is to go find a place and get out there. Unfortunately, right now, with where we're at, the housing authority and the voucher system, it's semi-closed right now, certainly to new vouchers, and Joe would fall into that category. So one of the issues happened so housing, let's see, I'm gonna explain this the easiest way possible. Let's pretend like rent is $500 and we're gonna do our budget, and the budget's done several years ago. So this budget, rent is $500, and we have 500 people. Adams County has been deemed that it can do vouchers for. So you have that $500 and you have 500 people and they match. We can go out and find places for these. So when you had that abrupt shift in what rental values and housing values were, so housing doubled. So now you can only service half that number of people. So there's a time right now where we can't serve new folks. That's a simplistic way to kind of share what the issue is. But so Joe can't get that assistance help. He doesn't, he's not asking for someone to buy his house or pay for his house or that kind of thing. He's looking for some assistance to offset where his pay is and ability versus, what the actual costs are out there. So he's kind of stuck. However, he's using his time wisely, helping out the men that we serve, and he's giving back to the same community that gave to him. So we're continuing to work on that. Joe, tell us a little bit what brought you to Adams County. What got you in this situation?
What brought me to Adams County, I'm originally from Baltimore. Just kind of getting, it sounds cliche, but getting tied up in the wrong crowd. And I pretty much came to Adams County, Gettysburg specifically, just looking for a fresh start. Just looking to start over in a place I can kind of
So that was kind of forced upon you.
Yeah.
It wasn't, we won't get into those details, but you kind of had no choice. You had to get out of town. It was just dangerous for you to be there. Joe, you have a son. How old is he?
My son is 11. He'll actually be 12 on the 21st.
How good is he at online basketball there? He's playing.
He's pretty good.
He's not at dad level yet, but he's
close.
pretty good.
He's getting there. He's pretty close.
He's a great young man. I've had the opportunity several times to meet him, and he loves to pick on me. So we go back and forth. What was the last ones we were doing? We were doing jokes on each other the last time he was here.
Yeah.
Oh, your breath's so bad. I can't remember what it was that I said. Like vultures swarm around your head, Like we were doing those back and forth. But he's a great young man. The issue is Joe can't be with them because, he's there and he doesn't have a house to put them together in. And we'd love to figure out how to make that happen. But Pastor Jeremiah, this is exactly the types of things that brought you to, hey, I have this passion, I want to get people together.
Yeah, and Joe is one of many, many people within Adams County. And of course, being the Ministerium and Adams County focused, we really are thinking about people like Joe who are wanting to find their place new in our community, and being able to do that with the help of assistance as well. So that was he's exactly the kind of person, you're the exact kind of person that we want to make sure that we have all of our details together for us so that it becomes easier for you to find a place to rebuild your life and move forward, which is the goal.
Yeah. So how do you feel? We just had this summit. We came off it, I think it was like the 28th of February. So we had this summit. We come off of it. How do you feel that summit went? I mean, we just
I'm floating after the time together, and I think a lot of the people in the room were too, which is what the feedback was. There was plenty of we should have been doing this all along kind of comments afterwards, and just everybody was quick to say, when's the next one? Which I'm excited to share that we are going to have another one in May. So that's super exciting. We do have a host for that, and the Ministerium's going to put it on again, but we're going to be hosting it at the Adams Economic Alliance, which is doing great work in this vein. They were there at this meeting, and just want to kind of move to these places, do these summits as we can, so that we can pick key ways that we can make a difference and close the gap. That's a gap that's there, and it's not the only gap. There's several gaps that we're trying to figure out how the churches and agencies can close those gaps so that people aren't left hanging.
No, and exactly. We look at this, and when we were working in these, we call them silos, right? You're working in this tower, and you're doing the best you can, and your heart's in the right place. But sometimes we're not equipped for that. Yeah. And it's okay to say, hey, you know what? I don't have the answers here, but guess what? Megan down at SCAP, she's got the answer. Let's call her. Or we could talk to Debbie over at CARES. Or, we can reach out to the local government. I mean, we have some amazing commissioners, and certainly when we look at the boroughs and the townships and stuff, we have some amazing folks who are out there in our community trying to help. And,
it's about connecting those people.
Connecting those dots,
That's the thing, because even sitting in that room on February 28th, there were people there from agencies I had never even heard of, and I've been a pastor in the community for 20 years. So it really was like eye-opening to be able to sit in the room and go, oh, there's a resource for that.
Right.
And I didn't know,
Right.
You only know what you know. So,
No.
So that was a real, coming away from that, I was like, so excited about the next one. And I think that what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to grow that group of people as word spreads that this is a group that is getting together for this purpose of helping people find housing assistance.
Right.
As that group grows, we can wrench down on 5 or 6 key issues that we can all take action, not just talk about it.
Right.
So this is not a meeting just to talk about the problems, but
we're not going to sit in committee forever. We're going.
Yes, to actually create solutions, because a problem is just a problem until the right people sit and look at it. Then there can be a solution for that problem if they're all in the room together, and that's the goal.
So if you heard Pastor Jeremiah, and you're involved in human services in Adams County, whether that's you're the hospital, you're WellSpan or UPMC or mental health care folks, so often these things are intertwined. Please consider, we're going to post it, it's going to be out there, consider joining us in this housing alliance. And again, At Home is doing it, so we're involved in that now. Yeah. The Ministerium's been invited to go to those. Yeah. So we're not reinventing the wheel. What we're trying to do, again, is foster these partnerships so that we can better serve our community.
Yeah, I think it's important to also mention that it's not a religious thing in that sense. We are churches and we are religious people, but it's about connecting the physical needs and the solutions and the resources together with those that need them most.
Yes.
That's what we're focused on. Yep. We don't need us to we don't want to get the glory. Yep. We don't want, it's not about the churches being anything special, but we want to come together and be the ones to be the catalyst for that.
Absolutely, and I think you're doing an amazing job, Pastor Jeremiah. So, when we looked at this, what are some of the takeaways we got from this recent Housing Alliance?
Sure. So I think that just the scattered process is probably something that we are going to need to really work on. For instance, I can share a little bit about what it's like being a pastor of a church and seeing the needs come in from week to week. Our staff, our administrator, who does an incredible job with this, she is inundated week in and day out. Every week she has multiple requests for either housing assistance, rent, food, you name it, gas, all that. And she has to filter all of these needs through what we can do as a church body, and our resources are very limited. So what we can do is we can fill up a gas tank, or we can get somebody bread and milk, at the convenience store next door, and pray with them and hope for the best. But then our resources come to an end. That's the most we can do outside of inviting them to church and being there for them that way. And so the goal here is that it wouldn't just stop there, but that as a pastor that I could say, now we've given you what you need for the next 24 hours, but let me connect you with someone who will help you go from there and get connected. Because sometimes a person doesn't need a tank of gas as much as they need help with their mental health, or their living situation, or resources. Parents that are really well-meaning parents who just don't have access to the resources they need to raise their children. Helping people connect those dots is really the next step beyond that. For us as a pastor, and I think that on some level, the agencies as well are getting inundated with the requests, and it's just about having an organized response together as a whole, from church to organization to that need. Right.
And this alliance has really been huge in broadening our abilities to help this group of people. Like Pastor Jeremiah said, just walking into that room and finding out, oh, you guys work on that? That's where I should go for this? It's amazing. So, eventually, Pastor Jeremiah said it when he opened, you don't know what you don't know. So we're out there trying to know. We're trying to learn and work together in our community. So you gave us a challenge when we walked out of that meeting. We had 4 things that we're going after. What were a couple of those things?
Sure. So along with that scattered response, one of the things we thought that would be good and that would be helpful is for us to have some kind of community care liaison, which would be a person that would be a connector between the need that presents itself in our churches together with the community agency. So this would be a person that I could help that person who's presenting to me with a need. I could help them connect to this person who would then open up the book and look at what is best for them.
I mean, you're a pastor.
So they're not just left high and dry.
You're a pastor. You have a church you're shepherding. You also have funerals, and you have these things, and to be able to give that undivided attention to somebody who walks in off the street can be very difficult. And your heart breaks to want to do it.
Often they're the same people going from church to church, looking to try to get the need covered that they is so huge in their life. They're connecting with church after church after church, and this would bypass all that, so they don't have to do this.
And they could get right to the actual source and areas that can actually jump in and help them.
And that one person would know their names and know their stories and know what they need and where the real need may be sometimes. And that's I think one of the big things we talked about. Another thing we talked about was the database. Some kind of database that allows all of the agencies, churches, everything that's up to date, that would allow us to be able to open it up in one moment and say, you should look at this. Now, the state already offers 211, which is a very valuable resource. And oftentimes we tell people, go to 211 and check it out. But on a local level, this breaks down because if we tell somebody to connect with 211, we don't then know
what's going on, where they're at.
And some people aren't able to navigate all of that. You know what I mean?
So often the folks that we work with and do walk in off the street, they have cognitive issues. Maybe they can't read, maybe they can't write.
Have a phone or don't have internet service, you know.
Or they're working on, with lack of mental health care, or they haven't had their medication in months. Yeah. So it's very difficult for them to literally walk through step by step everything that needs to happen. Yeah. I don't know about you, but if I have to go get my car inspected and meet this appointment and make this happen and make that happen, it can be a struggle for me, let alone somebody who's fighting those kinds of things and living on the street.
Absolutely.
How do we fast track that for them and make the process simpler?
Yeah, so someone there in the agency, like at the rescue mission, could just pull this database up and say, here, let me get so-and-so on the phone at this agency, and then they would have what they
here's
need
Will Hudson, here's his history, here's what he has, and it's confidential. It would be a system that would be confidential for those folks, like you would a hospital or something like that.
Yeah.
But you could see with their permission, you could see, okay, they have a driver's license, they don't have this service, they do have these ones. So then we can focus on what are we missing.
And we can get more organized together as agencies and churches to say this is really what they need next to get them more on their own. And the goal is always to get them more autonomous and established on their own, not to just continue to serve in a single capacity over and over again, which is everybody's...
Unfortunately, what we're facing.
When we gathered together, that was something that every person shared, and that is that it's not about just keeping someone where they are, but the most important thing that we all did in regards to this was moving people forward to the next...
Towards a more self-sufficient life.
Yes, absolutely. So that I think is key. So we had the idea of a liaison that could help with that process of connecting the churches and agencies. We had the idea of the database. Another thing that we saw as a pretty key challenge is some of the zoning laws and some of the things that are, because being in the Commonwealth, it's not like we just have one county that has one set of rules. We do have a county that has a set of rules, but the townships and boroughs.
Each individual borough and township is a little bit different on where you're at.
Yeah, and sometimes something can be in a zoning ordinance that actually inhibits the ability for new people, new renters to create new leasers to open up their property to lease a room or to make one part of their house accessible to somebody who doesn't need a whole house at $2,000 a month, but they would be able to make a jump to a room and start
trying to find affordable options and thinking out of the box. And these laws were, they meant well. They were trying to solve a problem at the time. But how can we adjust them and change them and look at them and tweak them and work with our local governments and lawmakers?
One of the key things that I heard was the Airbnb thing was a kind of a shock to me because I didn't think about how that would affect it. But a lot of people are opening their homes to guests from out of state. People who are visiting Gettysburg. Obviously, we're a big tourist area. But because there are more Airbnb rooms that are going on the market each month, those are rooms that could have been used for an in-laws quarters to help an aging relative to not become homeless. You know what I mean?
So some of the laws that they put into place to help limit the amount of those Airbnbs out there, because you want a community, certainly a balance between, being able to offer those services and a community that's invested in this particular community.
And we can do both at the same
time.
I think we can. I know people
don't.
They tend to focus on one or the other and say you can't do it this way, you can't do it. No, we can do both at the same time, and we've got to. We've got to walk and chew gum at the same time with this, because there are people that are moving in from out of state, and we want to be open to people that are coming to. They want a Gettysburg address. That's a great thing to have new people moving into the county, but we also can't forget people who are trying to they're already here and they're trying to find that place. So that was one of the things. So if you have connection to a zoning board or connection to your local meetings for your borough or township, we encourage people, if you have a heart for this thing, show up and start to listen to what they're talking about. Get engaged with the government there and start to speak out when there are things that come up that can help those that are looking for a home, and it may just be a room, but that's what they need in that moment.
Now, one of the other things that came away was a need for, okay, what's available out there? Do we have buildings? Do we have things that are available that we could partake in, whether it's the mission or SCAP or the Ministerium or all of us together to find solutions for housing that we could come up with.
Yeah,
and
you hear of all kinds of really cool solutions in different places where they take over a mall
or an old motel
or something like that. And on some level, the gap in Adams County for this kind of housing is so great that it's almost going to take something like this to get us to the place where we can even start to make a dent in that gap. And so that was one of the things that we started to talk about was what are some commercial places that would be open? What are some places that maybe the owner no longer needs it, and those places could be redesigned to create these one-bedroom kind of hotel room. Old hotel room would be great for this kind of thing. And then is there room for zoning-wise for that to happen?
Right.
Are the laws in place so that we can move forward with a plan like that? Because I can guarantee you this: the finances are not going to be the problem. Here,
no,
there's enough people that want to help.
And then as we stabilize these people, can you imagine? Okay, now how do we get these folks who are in here access to jobs, access to education? And then some of them, it may be, this is the limit of their faculties, and that may be the case. But other ones, given the right opportunities and right areas of influence and people around them, I think we can make a bigger difference than what we're doing now. It is so refreshing what you're doing and what they are. But yeah, you were saying.
I was saying, Joe, your situation is exactly what I'm thinking of, because a one-bedroom apartment is really is probably too small for you. But if you could get into a place just with maybe 2 bedrooms, then you would be able to get this thing kick-started and move forward. And whether it's one, everybody's story is different. Your story is not the same as the next person. Some people, they just need a hotel-sized room that they can manage, and they can learn how to care for it and grow and get their ducks in a row for the next steps. So I just feel strongly enough about this that we need to raise the alarm. And say this is something we need to work on now, not tomorrow.
And now, I think that's the thing, the urgency of it. And understanding, as we talked about it, we kicked those around, we're trying to work on solutions. And I'm not being sarcastic, please, or negative, but if you're that person who's out there in the rain or the cold, or fighting for your kids, or trying to fight through any of it, can you imagine being homeless out there on the street and getting a toothache? Oh my gosh, now
and
we
there
have
are
to do
resources
something now.
for that. There's the resources.
How do we plug them into them?
There are already people that want to help people that are struggling with their teeth and can't afford it in our county. But do we have does everybody that works in the churches know who those places are? They don't.
And there's a couple of organizations that do that. I know there's one that comes up there over at Gettysburg Foursquare.
Foursquare has that, Mission of Mercy, I think. Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. Connecting all of the dots with these resources so that people can truly get the help they need, instead of just getting gee, I hope things work out for you and I'll pray for you. That's not good enough of an answer for me as a pastor. I don't want to just say I'll pray for you. I want to pray first, but then I also want to provide for the physical need. A fully cared for community in Adams County.
And it doesn't matter if you're, religious, not religious, anything. We want to take care of people, period.
That's it. Yep.
And that's
Just
what we
being a good
believe
human.
Jesus called us to.
Just be a good human. Care for people.
Can we do it?
Yeah, we can. I think we can.
Joe, how's this make you feel that you see, you had, maybe 20 different organizations, almost 50 people show up to solve a problem that you're in the midst of? How's that make you feel?
Honestly, it makes me feel hopeful. Not only for myself, but for others who are in my circumstance or could potentially be in my circumstance. It's refreshing to see that people actually care about not only myself and others going through my circumstance, but even for people who have housing and are in positions where they cannot afford or living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
It's unfortunate as it is. Literally, a lot of people are probably one paycheck or one bad circumstance or one overdue bill from being in a similar situation as myself.
Right.
So it's really refreshing and just.
And what are some of your
happy.
thoughts? What are some of your thoughts on solutions? What do you think?
In terms of solutions, it sounds like the resources are there, but the awareness is not.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Because, again, you have places like Mission of Mercy that help with dental. How many people know about it? How many people know where they're located, where they're liable to set up
How many
a
open
pop-up
slots
shop?
do they still have?
Exactly.
those
How to
kinds of
get
things.
unemployment,
Right.
all that stuff. Yeah.
Like, there are still people who don't know about the mission. The mission's been there now for 52 years, 53 years.
Yeah.
And it's still people I only know you for the thrift store.
Right.
Not knowing that we have a residential program and the resources that we provide and things of that nature. So the biggest thing is just raising awareness to these resources, but also, like you said, getting like a community relations person in place. So that way it's just one centralized location, almost a one-stop shop.
One of the things that was brought up. Oh, go ahead. You had a question for Joe.
No, you can go ahead.
So one of the questions that was brought up is like, okay, but one person's going to handle all this. Okay, we have to start somewhere. You know what I mean? And that's my point is we get stopped because, okay, we need 2 people, we need 5 people, whatever. So we stop it and we don't do anything. It's like, no, let's get one in place.
Yeah,
And if we find out we need more, we'll figure that piece out when we get there. But I think it's going after the low-hanging fruit because every piece you collect is making a difference in a human being's life. And that's where the passion of the churches has come together with these folks who've been doing it day in and day out, through the organizations in our community. Again, we've mentioned some. Oh,
they're
my
the
goodness.
unsung warriors. As we were meeting, I could just see their passion for what they're doing, and oftentimes they get a bad rap, just like the churches do.
Right.
That we're not doing enough. But when you get them together in one room, you realize these people truly love people, whether they're Christian, Muslim, whatever, no faith at all. They just care for people, and that's like
they have this heart to make our community better, and heart to serve. And Joe, I mean, you are not a victim. You are not, you're not like, oh, I'm a recipient. You are a person who ran into a hard time, came to the end of yourself. You've told me this before. You had no pride left. And you're a man. You were a very proud man. I've seen you win basketball games on your video thing. You're a proud guy. You wouldn't let your son beat you. He's like 85 points. Take that. But he'd dunk over him. But you're a proud guy. But all that went away. But you did the work. You're the one who put it in. You were just offered services. Now you're giving back to the same community that gave to you, which I think the folks, if you could see this. And it would open your heart to, some of those stereotypes we have of folks who are struggling with some of these human services issues, whether it be homelessness or mental health care or, those types of things. And we're like, oh, they're a leech off the society. Just go get a job. Just do this. Just do that. Oftentimes they have to get some of these things regulated first. We've seen such success stories. And now Joe's one who's giving back. If you've ever seen him, he's been out there to... we did the Christmas thing out there.
Out of the seminary for United Way.
For United Way. He goes out to these things and serves people. He helped do the catering in the kitchen and stuff. and serve the food. He goes out and his crews of guys and stuff will put them together and they go work on the cemeteries and weed eat the lawn. So, you know, these are folks who are giving back. It's yes, they are in need and they need help, but they're also not helpless. And Joe, I admire you. You are an amazing human being, and what you do for the men, you protect them, literally. You're the guy, you know, if you can imagine 25 guys living in, you know, 10 apartments, the different issues that go on, and Joe keeps order, and he keeps discipline, and he teaches, and he coaches, and he sits with them while they're breaking down. He gets them to those appointments for their mental health care and their medicated, you know, their medical needs. He's giving back. He's not just taking. And this is what all of the folks that we're working with, we hope that can attain some level of that they can give back to those who are giving to them. And Pastor Jeremiah, I thank you so much for your passion and for bringing people together. It's just awe-inspiring when you see what God can do and what the hearts of those in our community, as you put those together, the difference it can make in people's lives. Pastor Jeremiah, closing thoughts. When's the next one? What do you think we can do? What do you think's possible?
Yeah. Well, I shared this at the summit at the very end, and there's a movie that I used to watch with my son. It's Finding Nemo.
Oh yeah.
The Disney. I used to watch it when he was a little boy, and we loved that movie. There's a scene at the end of that where all of the fish are caught together in the ocean in a net, and they're all swimming all different ways, and everybody's freaking out about they're going to get caught, they're going to get pulled out, and one of the characters says, "Everybody swim down." I think it might have even been Nemo that went around to the whole net saying, "Everybody swim down." And all the fish started to listen, and they pulled, and they started pushing and pulling in all one direction, and the net gave out, and all the fish got out of that. And I was thinking about that moment when I saw all these people sitting around in one room, because what was happening there was the beginning of that call for us to swim down.
Yeah.
Regarding this issue. And it's just the beginning.
Work together.
Work together. So let's swim together in the same direction. We're all doing valid work. And so, but can we do valid work together? That's what this is about. So we do have a housing assistant summit. Our next one is scheduled in May. It's Friday, May 16th. It's going to go from 9 a.m. until noon, and we would invite anyone that is working in the human services field, whether you are a government agency lead, nonprofit lead, or someone that works for a nonprofit, organizational, even government representation. It would be great to have some of our commissioners and people that are dealing with this from the highest level to be around the table. And that's happening on May 16th. So if you want to be a part of that, all you need to do is just email me at gettysburgchurches@gmail.com. And let me know that you're interested. Maybe tell me how many people you want to bring. We'll provide snacks and refreshments, some coffee and that kind of thing through the day, and you'll be out by lunch. You can go grab lunch with your team and talk about what was done there and what you can do. It'll be a great day, and I'm hoping, my goal is for us to go from 50 to 100.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I'd love to see 100 people around the tables there.
That would be wonderful.
In that next meeting on May 16th. So that's our next push for that. And we have a lot of other things that the Ministerium is working on right now. But that, in terms of the housing assistance quandary in our county, that's our heart.
Well, thank you so much for everything you do.
Thank you as well.
And your heart. I mean, just it's amazing. Joe, what's your goal? What's next year? This time next year look like for Joe Keitt?
This time next year, I'll be moved out of the mission. And this is not me hoping, this is me speaking it into existence. I'll be moved out of the mission. I'll have my son here. And obviously still working at the mission, helping out the guys. but just being able to live comfortably with my son, possibly, you know, preferably down the line, maybe look at extending that family. But priority one is getting him here.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, did you hear that? Joe is looking for a wife. I just heard. That's what I heard from that. Joe's looking for a wife. You just said that. So
Better be good at online basketball too.
We're gonna get him married off, and we need a tough lady to keep him in line. He's got discipline issues. No, he's a great guy. Joe, my heart goes out to you. I'm so thankful for you and all that you do and your leadership. I'm just proud. I'm just proud of you, and I wish all the best things in the world for you, and I certainly pray for those things. And you keep doing your work, and they do happen. They do happen. So, Pastor Jeremiah, Joe, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And let's have a great day, and let's get out there and go after it. Thank you, folks.